Hi, I'm Michaela.
And I'm Jennifer.
So Jennifer, how did the way you were raised pretty much determine or affect the way that you are now?
Well, I grew up in sort of a different way that most people grew up. I originally lived in a house with my parents and my sister, and then we moved to Toms River, and we lived over a funeral home for most of my life. And that was very different than the normal home apartment living. We were always together as a family. We ate meals together, and we did a lot of different things. We didn't have TV growing up, so we were always either outside or playing games or doing something. Our cousins lived close by, and so we were usually with family of some sort.
That's fun.
So
Now you're the oldest of the four.
I am the oldest of four. I have a sister and two brothers, and there's a big span in my family, which is probably a very different thing for families as well. We have it was my sister and I, and then there's a 9-year span between my sister and my brother, and then a 11-year span between the baby and my sister. So we kind of I grew up, and my sister grew up raising our brothers in some aspects. My mom was home, but we were also the mini mommies.
Yeah.
So
So now, how did kind of religion take into play with how you were raised?
we were a Christian family, and we were raised that, drugs were not part, alcohol, all of that stuff was not part of our daily lives. So we grew up.
Did your parents grow up drinking?
No. There's stories of my dad, again, that you have a few, but my mother never drank. My grandparents did not drink on either side. So that wasn't even, something that we grew up with. Now my dad will have an occasional wine or beer, and
Yeah.
but for the most part, that wasn't even
Yeah.
talked about. For the most part, most of my family, we don't drink. So
Did you ever wish that you kind of got the normal livelihood that a lot of people get, like living in a house, the backyard, and not having to be quiet and
sometimes,
Yeah.
definitely growing up, but
Yeah.
now looking back, I'm totally fine with where I have a different view on death, on life, and that I'm glad that I was raised the way I was raised. I like the way that my nieces and nephews are raised, because they also have the understanding of it's okay. Death is not scary. So many people I meet, everybody's so afraid of death, and they're not. Again, we kind of grew up with it, and it was just part of life, and it's not a scary or wrong thing. It's just life.
So from a socioeconomic point of view, how do you think that it's kind of affected you now, how you handle money, how you handle your living situations? I know you guys weren't poor by any means, so how do you think that your parents raised you to kind of basically treat money the way it should be treated?
I think it's twofold. There were definite times where we learned to save and to spend, and there were things. When I was more so when my sister and I were younger than David and James, we had our moments. I remember eating a lot of grilled cheese and tomato soup. I mean, we had a lot of times where it was a struggle, and someone knew it was a struggle, but my parents didn't lead to believe that it was. So we were always cared for. I think that's the other thing that a lot of people in now today's society think you don't have money, so life ends. But it's really not. It's more of you just have to kind of change your lifestyle and go with it. And my parents never made us feel like, okay, we don't have any money, or you're poor. There were definite signs that I wish we had this or we had that, but we never really wanted for anything, and that was
You guys still got to go on vacations and kind of live.
right. Yeah. So yeah, we were able to do things that normal people do. So it was also very different because my dad owned the business at a certain point, and life kind of stopped for us.
Yeah.
So we also lived our business.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just my dad owning it, the whole family owned it, which
Yeah.
was a different mentality for many people.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you so much for talking
You're
with
welcome.
me.